Hi, good morning. I'm Zoe Card from Knowledge Exchange UK, and we're hosting this short webinar this morning to introduce you to one of our new CPD offerings, the Negotiation Masterclass. It's a one-day in-person event that focuses on the development of skills and the application of frameworks that you need to be successful in negotiations, both those that are internal and external, whether you have a role in business development, contracting, or you're an academic looking to develop these essential skills. With me today is our course facilitator and course author, Dr. Stephen Brooks. Stephen, welcome.
Hello, and thank you, Zoe. I'm Dr. Stephen Brooks. I'm the founder and CEO of Compass Leadership Limited, and I'm also an honorary associate professor at the University of Manchester. And I was appointed after I'd retired, although I prefer to call it rewired, and I remain on the staff of the University of Manchester. And my role at the university was a full-time member. I co-led our global MBA module for 10 years. And I was privileged to work with highly motivated leaders and negotiators from across different parts of the world. In addition to a focus on negotiation challenges in the private sector, my role, I had 30 years as a senior police officer and senior civil servant in the Home Office. And much of my role then was involved in negotiations, but of a totally different kind, not only operational, such as hostage situations, but also detailed negotiations with public sector organisations. But the point that I want to make is that regardless as to what type of situation you are in when you're negotiating, the essential skills of negotiation apply across the board. So all that I'm saying here, my 40 years plus experience supports my facilitation of the essential negotiation workshop. And I've led this type of workshop across my own organisation and my own university for several years. And I hope to build on this with SAC, Zoe and the team by sharing and engaging across different organisations when you join us. So I'm very excited, Zoe, to start this process and looking forward to further dialogue.
You, Stephen, and such a detailed background and lots of skills, and I'm sure anecdotes that you'd be able to share with those attending the course. It's really nice to have the aspect from a negotiation professional as well as somebody doing the KE role. So thank you for that. We are very excited to be bringing this workshop. Over the last 12 months, we've been spending a lot of time reviewing our CPD offer and working with that and our member feedback. As such, we've been looking to reduce, in some cases, the length of our courses or CPD, and subsequently the cost. And that has meant for some of our really long-standing programs of CPD, we are developing some changes to make it more accessible and to meet your evolving training needs. So this one-day negotiation masterclass is a result of this thinking. It did exist as a module on a couple of our other courses, so research contracts and fundamentals of technology transfer. By putting this as a single standalone masterclass, it enables those courses to be shorter, but it also enables you to really delve in for a full day of masterclass workshopping and training to think about negotiation within your role, negotiating with internal stakeholders, and also doing those deals externally. So it's for those with a range of levels of experience. You'll be given some hands-on practice and feedback. So we're really excited about this redeveloped and redesigned one-day masterclass with Stephen and Zach as your facilitators. Stephen, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the specifics of the masterclass?
Sure. I think what I'd like to do is to give you a sense of what benefit you'll get by being on this programme. And first and foremost, it's a strong understanding of essential negotiation skills by exploring good practices from various sectors, but also comparing them to the specific needs of negotiation within your domain, and particularly with knowledge exchange practitioners. So it will be tailored very much to your context. And what I hope that we'll learn together, because I learn just as much from you as you will learn from me in terms of your challenges. And what I hope we can do together is to examine how the skills can be applied in different contexts. And what we will consider are the different interests that people have, different cultural considerations, different needs, different aims, different ambitions. And additionally, what I hope to be able to do is to engage you in looking forward to continuous professional development, which Zoe has already spoken about, to specifically enhance your negotiation skills. And as a result of doing this, at the end of this workshop, we're confident that we'll be able to ensure that you grow within your profession and improve the organization within which you work. So that's the background. And Zoe, if I can just touch on a little bit of the context, if that's okay. One of the lessons that I've learned over the years of my negotiation practice, and certainly over the last 18 years when I've been teaching or more facilitating this through the university and other universities, that these principles of essential negotiation do apply, and they certainly apply very significantly within your specialist teams where you work on behalf of universities or other organizations to gain business opportunities and bring them back to your organization. And what I would say, it's the context that differs, but that is an opportunity, because wherever there is a difference, you can learn from other sectors. And yeah, I've already mentioned quite, and I hope that this isn't too frightening here, but immediate high risk and volatile policing contexts like hostage negotiation still require that contract of empathy and understanding and emotional intelligence when you're dealing with an irrational person, just as much as when you are dealing with a rational person. How you respond behaviorally is different, but it's most important to understand that it's about what's in people's heads and what they're thinking when you're negotiating. And a key point that I would make is, and this is research proven, that only 7% of what people understand comes from the words that you say. So that 93% comes from non-verbal behavior, and most importantly, the tone in which you talk to people. So we'll be looking at the human element of negotiation within this program. And although the alternatives and the different practices that we'll be talking about can help you to improve, and not only improve your skills, but also to understand how you can adjust your behaviors. It will also draw from you your real life examples of what you are facing within your place of work. And that's a second learning that I've got from this program over the years that I've been facilitating it, is you learn best by doing, and you learn best by understanding the challenges that you are facing within your workplace, and how our learning can help you to navigate that and improve the situation that you're in. So that's really just a thumbnail sketch. I won't go through the schedule. I've touched on many of them, but we'll introduce a couple of really interesting but practical frameworks. The first of which is a framework that I've developed over these years, which is getting to grips with negotiation, which is very much about goal-directed negotiation. So we'll lead you through those steps, but I hope align it to the challenges that you are facing within your workplace. So thank you, Zoe. And I think that's really as much as I wanted to say about the content and what they can expect.
That's great. Thank you very much, Stephen. And I hope you'll find that information as a precursor quite interesting. Obviously, we don't want to go through the entire day and let you in on all our secrets, but really looking forward to having you join us. We are running a spring negotiation workshop, which is happening fairly soon, and also an autumn one in October. So please do look out for those. It might be at the end of September, actually, but somewhere close. So at this point, we'd like to invite anybody listening to offer us some questions that we're more than happy to answer at this point. Obviously, this is a webinar and will be going out for people to review at a later date. But if there are questions in the room, we're very happy to answer them, and I will just hold some space for that to happen. Stephen, just in terms of your background, I know obviously you've given us lots of experience that you've done negotiation in a very professional format previously and had a career in that area with lots of different training. But how maybe it would be useful if you could explain kind of how long you've been working with universities and around KE or negotiation in that setting.
Sure. Well, I've been in contact primarily through my home university, the University of Manchester, and it was well before COVID that we engaged in discussion with what was then called the Business Engagement and Knowledge Exchange team. And Sak, who's working with us on this, worked within Manchester at the time, and then he got promoted and moved on to Sheffield, and I've also done some work in Sheffield with Sak. But I guess it's probably coming up 8-9 years now, and we're just as we'd started to set up a program for the business engagement in the university, COVID hit, and it was at that point I decided to rewire, not retire. But I was appointed immediately as an honorary associate professor. So even during COVID, for the first 2 or 3 years, I did an annual session, which was online through Zoom with breakout rooms using these principles. And then as COVID disappeared, I did one face-to-face session in Manchester, and it's been face-to-face ever since. So yeah, quite a lot of experience. I've also done ad hoc ones, for example, with a client relations team who work in the arena of executive education. And obviously clients can be very, very demanding in terms of executive education. So I ran a session just before Christmas for executive education, which appeared to go down quite well.
One of the joys really of being able to pull out the negotiation element from a couple of these pre-existing courses, so that it's not now just restricted to those that do research contracts or those that are just getting to grips with the technology transfer office. Actually, we're open for those academics that might be starting to have some of those negotiations, and other individuals within kind of the KE sector and wider, and also those that do research within industry that maybe want to brush up on their negotiation skills as well, which obviously is an unintended, I think maybe it is intended, a benefit of having this as a standalone.
Sure. I mean, program. I think that you've prompted me now to make another comment here from my experience of working with universities. It's absolutely fascinating, because I can say hand on heart from the many sessions that I've done, is that it's just as much about negotiating between knowledge exchange practitioners and us academics. You know, and some of those negotiations can be conflicting and difficult conversations. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted when I say this, but I think for every 2 negotiation challenges, one of them will be with an internal academic or vice versa. So I don't know if that's an experience that is familiar with your colleagues.
Yeah, yes, you're right. The other thing I wanted to just mention, just for anybody from a K background, we've got testimonials also on our website. I know, Stephen, you've been collecting these through the courses and the programs that you've been doing. But if anybody would like to view them, we've put some examples of those on our website as well. Highly commended, which I think we would expect from a Knowledge Exchange UK programme, but some really positive reinforcement for the skills and the techniques used on your course, Stephen, for those thinking of signing up.
Thanks. Yeah.
I do think we've potentially got somebody who does want to ask a question, which is great. If anybody does want to ask a question, please could you use the Q&A function within the webinar to post that question, and Stephen and I will be able to answer that directly for you whilst we're live. If you are able to do that, that would be very helpful. I can't see any other questions. Stephen, anything else at all that you might like to highlight before we continue?
No, again, just a really incentive for it, that there's 2 points I've made. One is my approach to this is 1/3 me talking, 2/3 us engaging, because that's where most of the learning comes from. But also it's almost a workshop of two halves. We look at the challenges and the frameworks for negotiation, but the second part is very much about practice, which is creating a tactical plan which will help you in the heat and thrust when the negotiation starts. So it is very practical, practically focused.
Brilliant. And I think then coming to this training with that sense of I'm going to get involved here, and the more I get involved, the more I will take something away from it is invaluable. As well as the small amount of pre-work that we would ask our delegates to do, which means they can take the most away from the session as well, thinking about their own situation, as you've already described, putting it in context of what people are battling with, struggling with, or coming up against now, something that's really concrete. Lovely. Well, I haven't got any more questions in the Q&A at the moment, Stephen. We really hope that there's enough information there for you to make an informed choice. Of course, if you want to get in touch, you can use the info@ke.org.uk email address. And there's further information about this course on the ke.org.uk website. You'll find this as well as all of our other portfolio under our CPD offering. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today for this. It's been wonderful, and we will see each other and our delegates in person in a few weeks. So really looking forward to that. And Zach will be there, obviously, as well, who we've mentioned. I think that's it for today. So Stephen, thank you very much for the time you spent designing this, and we know that it will be a really great session on the day. So just thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Stephen. And everyone else, information available on our website. Thank you.